it was good, really good.
That was nice, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
But they changed their format, they went more international. Because back then, a lot of it was New York City, like on the front page, they changed it.
Sometimes they had, Bigfoot yesterday, I had an article that I thought was fascinating, it was about Sweden or Denmark. And they were talking about that progression of socialism.
Oh.
You know, and it's almost historical as you can see the steps taking place, but it always ends up, shifting back, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing, and that whole socialist thing doesn't really work. But it really from a perspective of steps there, how it moved up to here and
Switch.
there.
You know, they have a show on it's HBO, Netflix called Years and Years. I think it's HBO. And it's so interesting because within one program, they like go forward, like all forward. And they do a lot about like what happens with different countries and, you know, and we're in 2025 and there's a woman, Donald Trump is, like she's saying some of the stuff he says now, it's a woman, and Emma Thompson plays her, you know, it's just, I just find it so interesting to see all these different, they'll make little comments here and there about the environment, or the electricity and gas are so expensive now, you know, it's like, it's kind of cool. You think about the people who created it, trying to think about, you know, government. So that is wonderful.
That's it.
It's interesting. Yeah, she's not here today. So.
I said it, I didn't want to call it the end, I said, it's the first session.
Okay, if we could all rise for the pledge?
She's not here.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so as you can see, we're a little short-staffed tonight, but we have a few things on the agenda. The mayor and trustee Santoro had unavoidable conflicts, but we are ready to go. Before we even get started, I would like to first recognize the Bayville Centennial Celebration Committee for an outstanding job with the closing dinner at the Crescent Club. Co-chairs Carol Kennedy and Al Stab, they worked very hard to make sure it was a success, and it was sold out event, which everyone unanimously thought was fantastic. I also want to thank Matt Silver for his professionalism and efforts to make it a special night for everyone there. Okay? First thing on the agenda is warrants and claims. Can I get a motion to approve the warrants and claims?
I make a motion to approve the warrants and claims.
I second that. Trustee Farnell?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Malfetti?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
Yes.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you. Could you please repeat what you said?
Siri, want to be spoken? Want to be heard?
Give me 3 minutes at the end.
Siri doesn't like our warrants and claims. Next on the agenda is budget transfers.
I move we approve the budget transfers.
I'll second that.
Trustee Farnell?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Malfetti?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't quite.
Next, I'd like a motion to approve the prior meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve the prior meeting minutes.
I second.
Trustee Nigro?
Yeah.
Yes.
Trustee Farnell?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Malfetti?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the Lessings Hospitality Group. They apparently own several restaurants in the area. They're requesting permission to clean up West Harbor Beach on September 18th between the hours of 2 to 5 p.m. Can I get a motion to approve that?
Can I just ask what this cleanup constitutes?
General trash and, you know, raking, things like that. Nothing major. They're not pulling out any, you know, grass that needs to be there.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion from Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
I second.
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Negro?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Valsecki?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
Yes. The next item, the Mill River Rod and Gun Club requests permission to use the village docks for its snapper derby, which they do every year, to be held on September 14th, from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Can I get a motion for that?
I move that we approve the use of the docks by the Mill River Rod and Gun Club for their snapper derby.
Second.
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Negro?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Valsecki?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
Yes. Next, we've been presented with a municipal agreement with the Locust Valley Central School District. As we've done in prior years, the intermunicipal cooperation agreement is for the sharing of resources between the village and the school district, including snow removal, emergency shelters, things of that nature. Okay, a motion to approve that.
I make a motion to approve the, sharing of, between the village and the Locust Valley School District.
I second.
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Negro?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Valsecki?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
Yes. Next, we have a request from a group called Cycling for a Change. It's a charitable organization which raises awareness of human trafficking. They request permission to use West Harbor Beach on October 12th from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. for a bicycle race and other events. Can we get a motion to approve that?
I make a motion to approve the Cycling for Change using West Harbor Beach on October 20th, right? 12th, I'm sorry, 12th.
12th.
I second.
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Negro?
I'm just looking at the application, 1 second, if you don't mind.
Sure.
They provided proof of insurance to us,
Yes.
They did.
then I vote yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Valsecki?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
Yes. All right, next, the Bayville Library requests permission to use the Village Green for an event called the Great Give Back Program. The event will benefit the Glen Cove Animal Shelter by having a pet parade. All residents who participate must bring an item to be donated to the shelter. I request, it's only for a couple of hours on that day, so I forget what day it is. Do you know what day it is?
Saturday, October 19th,
Okay.
at 11 a.m.
Okay, a motion to approve that parade?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Negro?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Valsecki?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
Yes. Next, James J. Badgick LLC requests approval for testing of the sediment in the marina area before dredging can take place.
I want to make sure you all have the most current,
I saw that.
proposal, okay, with the revised, it should say revised budget on it. Oh, they both say revised budget, but the newer one is dated today, August 26th.
Yeah, so. Can I get a motion to approve that?
I'm sorry, did I have a motion?
Not yet.
I'll make a motion to approve, the, proposal for, testing.
I second.
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Negro?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Valsecki?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
Yes. All right. Next, we have the Bayville Beautification Committee and its chairperson, Chris Blummer, proposed a mural to be painted on the wall facing the Commons in the center of town. The mural itself will cost $13,000 and depicts a beautiful beach scene. We have copies of it if anyone wants to. It might be hard to see, but if anyone wants to see.
I'll put it up.
If you were at the Centennial, they unveiled it there. It seems to be an appropriate, very beautiful beach scene. In addition, some masonry modification to the wall will be necessary before the painting begins. We have a proposal from BDM Mason Corp. for $28.95 and from Rosario Pisano contracting for $2,000. The recommendation is to accept the proposal from BDM and approve the mural. motion?
Make a motion to accept the, proposal from, which one was that?
BDM.
Mason Corp.
And I second.
Will that,
And mural.
will that also include the approval of the mural?
Mural.
Yeah.
Trustee Cornell? Yes. Trustee Nigro?
I would add that the agreement be signed by the mayor. And on that stipulation, I vote yes.
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Valsecki?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor White?
Yes. The next item, St. Gertrude's, has their annual picnic on September 22nd, 2019, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. at West Harbor Beach. They're requesting permission to use the beach. Can I get a motion to?
I move that we grant St. Gertrude's request to use West Harbor Beach for their annual picnic.
And I second.
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Valsecki?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor White?
Yes. Next item, we've been presented, or we've actually created, a license agreement with the Grenville Baker Boys and Girls Club to use the community center while their facility is under renovation. They're having extensive renovation. It's going to take approximately 14 months to get their facility open again. And that displaces about 60 to 70 primary and intermediate school children in Bayville, who would otherwise have nowhere else to go after school. And as you know, the Boys Club provides, activities, homework help. It's an invaluable thing that they provide. We definitely want to accommodate them. The community center is very underutilized, and in exchange for the use, allowing them to use it, the Boys Club, the Boys and Girls Club, will perform much needed renovations, including new carpet, new paint, and new lighting throughout the facility.
And fans.
Yes, and ceiling fans. We got ceiling fans. If anyone has any questions, Mark Bilbrey, who is the director of the Boys and Girls Club, he's here if anybody has any questions about these plans. But we've had several meetings, and it's really a win-win for everybody. So, does anybody have any questions?
This has insurance coverage?
Yes. We need this additional short on their insurance.
And it won't conflict with the use of the community center by any of the groups that we.
No,
No,
in
that's
fact,
well worked
we
out.
met with the seniors, who are the main group that uses it most regularly, and they were fully in favor of it. It's gonna be used from like, 3 in the afternoon to 7? 3 to 7 during the week.
So we'll schedule any meetings that, organizations have for 7:30.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Anybody else have any questions about Boys Club? Mark, do you wanna add anything, or did I cover it?
I think you covered it.
All right, so I'd ask for a motion to approve this license agreement, that, we're presented with tonight.
Make a motion to accept the license agreement with the Boys and Girls Club.
And I second.
And you're authorizing the mayor to execute the license agreement,
Yes.
correct?
The mayor
Mayor
signs
or
it.
deputy mayor in his absence?
I can sign it tonight, you can sign it?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Normally,
Well, how will the resolution?
yeah, the
Mayor
resolution
or
should be the
deputy?
mayor or the deputy mayor in the mayor's absence.
I'll sign it tonight.
You can sign it tonight.
I apologize, so I have the second from trustee Belcher, so trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Valsecki?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor White?
Yes. All right, and the last item on the agenda is, the introduction of local laws.
You?
All right, so we have a couple of code changes that we're introducing tonight. Local law C-12019, which proposes to amend section 80-3 of the Village Code of the Incorporated Village of Bayville to add the term special event center and the definition thereof. Local law D-2019, which proposes to add subsection 80-45, subsection A, 13F to the village code. This new subsection will add special event center as a use permitted in the business district of the village, only upon issuance of a special permit, therefore by the Board of Trustees. Local law E-2019, which proposes to repeal section 80-46B of the village code and replace it with the new section 80-46B. Local law F-2019, which proposes to repeal section 80-96E and section 80-96F of the village code. Okay? Somebody's got to move it.
I believe that
We're
the
gonna
board
table
is
it.
going to table the
Yeah.
matter, so I believe we need a resolution to do so.
Okay.
I move to table the matter.
Second.
Trustee Cornell? Yes. Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Belzaki?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor White?
Yes. Just before we hear the presentation from Mr. Schulman and Mr. Hart, if anybody has any questions or issues they want to raise to the board, now would be the time. If you do, stand up and give your name to the clerk.
Well, it's my normal request, Maria and I very much involved with that. About the wall on Merritt Lane again. I know it's gone through a lot of configurations of engineering and yada, 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 et cetera. And proposals came, well, projected cost was somewhere about $100,000, which in my view is absolutely crazy. There's not that much that has to be done there, and that $100,000 seems a bit out of line. Although the wall is continuing to fall down, and you have some safety factors there, you have liability, responsibilities. And when I hear a lot of proposals to do this or do that, I think this is one that needs prompt attention, and since the cost is rather steep, though I did ask Maria for the report from the engineers on how they broke out those costs. I've done that for many years, so I'd just like to take a look at it, see how they got there. Hopefully it's not gonna cost $100,000, but I know you have other expenses coming up on meetings about this and that. I'd like you to keep focus on that this is a dangerous site. Someone's gonna get hurt, someone's gonna get sued. I wouldn't like to see the village spend their money on being sued. You know, I mean, it's that simple. They came and cut down the grasses and picked up some of the boards that fell down, but not all of them. They should. Because, you know, if you tip one of those with your tire, it could come up on one end and smack a car, smack somebody walking. I mean, you know, it's just dangerous. So I know the process is long and winded, and I've heard a lot of configurations and how it's gonna be done. But we seem to be getting some progress, but I just urge you to please dial it into your necessity, obligation for safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question or an issue? Okay, so that's the end of the agenda. The last item is we have a presentation regarding pickleball. Right?
Thank you, trustees, for giving me this opportunity. As some of you know, for many years I was the tennis pro in Bayville on our courts, and have noticed recently that there's a big lack of use of the facility there. It's a beautiful facility, and coincidentally, I'm well aware, as you may be, of the rise in popularity of a sport called pickleball. I have a friend, Eric Schumann, who's with me today. I met Eric as his capacity as the activities director for the Glen Cove Senior Center. But Eric is also president of the Gold Coast Pickleball Club, and is also the ambassador to Nassau County from the Pickleball Association of America. And so in many parts of the country, underutilized tennis courts are being relined for pickleball use, so you could still use it for pickleball or for tennis. And so I spoke to Eric about it, and he's got some wonderful contacts and some good information, so I'd like to introduce Eric.
Thank you. Oh, there you are. Thank you. Hi, thank you for having me today. As Steve said, I am the USAPA ambassador for Nassau County. I've been focusing a lot more on the North Shore than the South Shore lately. And I'm not sure, how many of you have heard of pickleball? Okay, only one. That's good.
Only because Steve told me.
That's good. Only because Steve said. Well, it's the
And I
biggest.
looked it up.
It's the biggest sport you've never heard of. Over 8 million people play this sport in the U.S., and it's growing by leaps and bounds. And finally, Long Island is starting to catch up to the rest of the country. If you have any family members in the Midwest, West Coast, or South, I guarantee you they've heard of pickleball, especially down in Florida. Has anyone else in here have ever heard of pickleball? Yeah, yeah, okay, so a few. It's incredibly popular. What's great is it's being taught in middle school and high school. So we have the younger generations learning all the way through seniors. I teach over 100-year-olds this game. So really anyone can play this game, all ages. It doesn't matter if you have any disabilities, if you have issues with injuries or problems with hand-eye coordination. It's a very simple game to play, a very hard game to master. It's now in all of the tennis facilities. So even these private clubs and tennis facilities, they see that if I just put a few more lines down, a different color than tennis, I can now have double the amount of action on my courts. So if the private tennis facilities have it, there's no way why a public court shouldn't have it. I can give you all the details on all the public courts we've transformed over the last just few months. We've done Merrick. Merrick has 4 tennis courts. They now have 16 pickleball courts. Long Beach has about 6 tennis courts at Lido Beach, and they now have 10 pickleball courts there. You name it, Seaman, Seaford, Glen Cove. I can go on and on about all the different parks that have now just put a few lines on their tennis court. It's not much money. The good news is I could also get you grant money, so it won't cost more than likely cost you anything just to put a few lines down. And there's a lot of local companies, including the one that we just did for Glen Cove, Gold Coast Tennis, that can come down and know all the dimensions, everything, and can bang it out in less than 2 hours. What's really great about it is it's also incredibly cheap. So the paddles are cheap, the balls are cheap. So any age can play, but also just a few dollars, you come down, you hit a ball around. It doesn't cost a lot of money to pick up this sport. I'd also be happy to come down and teach clinics completely for free, teach any ages. It's part of my job. I don't get paid for it. It's just my love of the sport, and I do it all over Long Island. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
About how much does it cost for the lines?
Well, it depends on how many courts you're going to do and if you do them all at once. To put lines down, what I usually suggest is not the same line color as the tennis lines. So a lot of you who are familiar with tennis courts, you're probably it used to be called Quick Start, then it was called Junior Tennis, where its lines a little bit smaller than the doubles lines on a tennis court, inside. So what we usually suggest is a different color rather than usually the white lines of tennis, a dark blue, a black, a light yellow, and this way it won't conflict with the tennis game. They're used to it. In gym floors, for example, we have volleyball lines, basketball lines, badminton lines, and everything else, and we can do it all different colors. So we usually have a different color. If you're doing one court on each tennis court, it's obviously going to be a lot cheaper. You could also do 2, one on each side of the net, and this way you have more games going at once. For example, we just did a dedicated court in Glen Cove. It became so popular that now we have to line the 3 tennis courts. There's over 25 people waiting per game in a matter of less than 2 months. It's grown that much. So we're now starting to line the tennis courts, and it's happening everywhere, all over Long Island and as well as Suffolk. Cost-wise, as I said, it could change, but you're probably looking at anywhere between $800 and $1,000 per line court. And of course, they're not resurfacing the court, they're just putting lines. If you do numerous courts, that price can definitely come down. No question about it.
I have 2 courts.
So 2 courts, you can have either 4 pickleball courts, one on each side of the net, or you can use the tennis net, and they can play with the tennis net, and you'd have one on each tennis court. Yeah.
Well,
I just have a follow-up.
if you don't use the tennis nets, what's gonna hit the ball?
That's a great question. So you'd have portable nets. These portable net systems are, you can get outdoor portable nets. Yes, so here is a,
This is a
pad.
pickleball paddle.
Right here, that's a
And that's the
example.
ball, it's a wiffle ball. So you can hit it very hard, it doesn't go very far.
So, what trustee Nago said, so what are you gonna do with the net that's there? Are we gonna remove that net? Are we
The
gonna-
tennis net?
Yeah.
No, they would play over the tennis net, you can have that option. The tennis net is actually just 2 inches higher than a standard pickleball net, but unless you're a pro, you're not really gonna tell the difference. No one's gonna complain if there's an option to play. But if you want more courts, what you would do is get portable nets, and again, I can get you portable nets for a fraction of the cost through the USAPA. They can be right outside against the fence, or you can have someone, I don't know what the facility is like, or if there's a place to maybe rent them or leave a license or something, that's what they do in Merrick. And they can use the portable nets, and that way you have 4 courts. But a lot of people like to just try it out with the nets. They don't have to worry about purchasing extra nets or nets on the side and see how it goes, and then they grow from there. I just started East Hills. East Hills started 2 on each basketball court, and now they're telling me that they want to build 2 dedicated pickleball courts. It's grown so fast.
Let me just get, how much is that?
Dedicated?
To build like just a.
That's gonna be costly, because you're going to be putting down the same surface you do for a tennis court.
Right.
What's great about this as an introduction to the sport for your town, is you just put a few lines down on the tennis court and you have the game.
What are the lines made of?
Just paint.
It's just paint, it's just paint, like the same lines that you would put on a tennis court, it's the same lines.
So if you're playing tennis and these lines get in the way, then what do you do?
Well, that's why we have them a different color, and it's usually a much darker color, or a color that goes along with your court. So a lot of courts are green and navy, for example. So we have the lines just be a little darker or a little lighter than that navy. So you really wouldn't notice them on the tennis court. You'd notice the tennis lines before you notice the pickleball lines, and that's what we want.
And the floor surface, the surface of the floor, you said it's like a tennis court, but the tennis court could be grass also.
Well, this is specifically your paved tennis courts is what we're talking about.
But it doesn't have to be in a tennis court, does it?
Yes, you need that surface. It can't be played on grass. Yeah.
Is this being played in schools?
It is. Middle schools and high schools now across the
How
country.
about the Locust Valley School?
That I'm not sure, but we just brought it in the last 3 years. I brought it to Roslyn, Port Washington, Manhasset, Great Neck. I know Glen Cove does it, Merrick does it, Mineola does it. More and more districts are doing it. And it's usually a part of, they have a choice of volleyball, badminton, or pickleball. In fact, the same dimensions of a pickleball court are the same as a badminton court. You literally just lower the net and now you have pickleball. So it's great for even YMCA. The YMCA, I'm sure, offers, oh no, sorry, your Boys and Girls Club, I apologize. YMCA offers pickleball. They started out with 2 days a week. It's now 7 days a week, twice a day. I mean, it grows that fast. Because anyone can play at any age and any skill level. Yes?
You mentioned before that you can put 2 courts on either side of a net, of a typical tennis court.
That's if you want 4, because you have 2.
What's your experience with the so-called pickleball encroaching on the other people that are playing? I mean, to say there are no boundaries, so to speak, correct?
There are boundaries on the court itself.
Well, if someone hits it with that paddle and it goes into the other
Oh, that happens
area, how
often.
often does that happen?
It happens somewhat often.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, pickleball players are used to it.
Okay.
Center Reach has 14 pickleball courts, all smushed onto, I think, 6 tennis courts. And they're used to balls coming on. You just say ball on the court, everyone stops play, you put it back. It's,
Because you're pretty
It's not
close.
as picky as tennis
Not a half
players.
court.
oh, no. In fact, really, what's hurting the sport from growing even faster is that a lot of tennis people don't like pickleball. Because it's growing so fast and so popular that they feel that it's kind of encroaching on their sport.
But we'd have to dedicate both courts to the use of pickleball when pickleball is being played there. They can't play tennis and pickleball at the same time.
No, they cannot. But you can have 8 people playing on 1 tennis court if you have 2 pickleball courts. We usually play doubles, so 4 players to a pickleball court. So instead of tennis, only 2 people usually are playing singles. You don't usually see doubles too much unless you're in a league. So we'd have 8 players as opposed to 2 if you have 2 pickleball courts.
Would you let us know if and when you get to Locust Valley School District?
I can let you know tonight. I can make a call and get that information
I'd like to know
tonight.
if they're interested in it.
I would be very surprised if they didn't, because it's a part of every phys ed curriculum today. So unless it's there are teachers there who have been there for a very long time, and you don't have any new teachers coming in, because it's taught, I was a phys ed major, so, I mean, I went to Queens, I taught for 15 years. It's in every school that I know of.
Is this sport played during the winter?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We go indoors. So just like I said before, where we have many different lines of many different sports, we just get used to our color line. So the YMCA has it, all the indoor tennis courts have it. In fact, the Boys and Girls Club in Glen Cove, I volunteer there every Friday. I teach it to the kids there in the middle school, Friday afternoons. So you can play it on, gym floor is actually really great. It's great for the joints, because usually those gym floors have give. So a lot of people
You said
prefer
before
that.
that it had to be the same surface. As
Well, if
the
you're playing
tennis court.
outside, you want the hard surface. You can't play on like grass, for example.
Or hard turf. Does it work on hard turf?
You're talking about like the sand almost gravel. Yeah, it doesn't really work too well on that, but it has been played on that.
So it's more so for an impervious surface.
Yes, exactly. Yes. In fact, I teach it also at the JCC in their gymnasium over in East Hills. But yeah, so it can be played indoors and outdoors. Absolutely. Anyone have any other questions?
Thank you very much, Alan.
No problem. And just so you also know, before I finish, I'm sorry, you could also do a lot of fundraising. I've done fundraising all across Long Island with pickleball, doing it at all different towns for their fundraising for different special things. So we've done like shelters, we've done food drives, we've done all different things. So you could also do a lot from the fundraising pickleball. We have thousands of players across Long Island that play this. It's absolutely crazy.
Have you approached the town of Oyster Bay and see if maybe they want to?
I have. Saladino is actually building some in.
I have a great spot at Ransom Beach.
Oh yeah?
Perfect.
Well,
Wide open.
We just built in Bethpage, we just did Sweet Hollow, so there's all those. Now our next goal is Eisenhower Park, and Christopher Morley is on the agenda for next year. But we've done a lot of other parks as well, yeah. And one of these days, you guys are gonna have to come out so I can show you.
Yeah.
All right?
Two tennis courts.
Oh yeah, I'd love
Yes,
to.
that's-
I'd love to. I can't get it. I built a court in my backyard. I'm so obsessed. So.
Is there anything like, if it moves forward, you can put online, like a video, a demonstration?
If
of
you'd
what
like
it's-
to stay after, I'd be happy to show you videos that we had the nationals that I was just playing in just a few months ago.
No, I'm thinking like putting on our website to.
Oh,
keep
absolutely.
the interest of.
I can send you introduction videos. I
Yeah.
make some myself on YouTube, so.
Can you email that to us?
I'd be very happy to. I can email you all the articles. I actually have some packets here with just some basic knowledge for all of you to look at too, to make
You
it
can handle
easy.
this up.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Anybody else have any questions? No, it's no pickles.
And just so you know, the name is very silly, but it's actually been around for over 60 years.
Wow.
This sport, but it was named after a dog. So
Oh, nice.
parents put their kids outside. It was a badminton court. They lowered the net. They gave them squash paddles, wiffle balls. Said get busy. They played this game. They came up with rules. The ball kept on going off the court. The dog's name was Pickles. Pickles ball, and it became pickleball. And that's how we have this sport.
All
Yeah.
right, so it does go.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Steve, thank you too.
I just, one other thing I wanted to mention. When I originally had this idea, I'm thinking, well, let's see if there's a market for it, who's interested in it. So I went on one of the Bayville Facebook pages, and I just, put in a paragraph about the possibility of pickleball. Is anybody interested? Within one day, I had 24 people say yes. So the interest is there.
and 12 with word.
That's how it usually works in this town.
The interest is there.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, yep, yes.
I,
You get the mic.
yeah, sure.
Good.
I don't think I need it.
Name and
Peter
address.
Basilis, 11 Hilltop, and here tonight because I have a neighbor that has excessive outdoor lighting, and apparently there's no code in Bayville to address that. There is an Oyster Bay, and when you drive by in the street, 10 lights come on all around his house, And then he has other lights. The house is still under construction, basically. It's almost done, but been under construction for 3 years. And, my neighbors have, porta potties out there for 3 years. And I asked them, the lights are shining in my house. They go on for 7 minutes. And
Motion sensor lights?
yeah, and I think he said he has video cameras on them too, all around his house. So they shine in my backyard, I'm watching TV, it shines against the wall in the house, in the bedroom, even though I have shades in the bedroom. And, Oyster Bay has a code, and if anyone wants to read it.
Did you report this to the building inspector?
Yes, I did, and Sal Bugatti came up there and he wrote him a summons, not summons.
It's a violation.
A notice, a violation.
Right.
And apparently, they looked up and they couldn't find any code in Bayville.
Who's they? The building inspector or?
Yes, and the neighbors.
Okay.
But I don't know because they said there wasn't one in Oyster Bay also. But Sal couldn't find it in his.
But I know we have them in a lot of villages.
Most municipalities have it, villages, towns. Town of Oyster Bay has it, South Holt has it, every place has
It
it.
sounds like something we should have.
Yeah, and it's right there, if you pass it around, it's very simple, it says, any exterior lighting shall be designed to be shielded and shall be maintained so as to contain lighting to the property on which it is located, and so that it shall not shine, glow, or interfere with surrounding and neighboring properties or roadways. Very simple.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking you all to adopt it right away.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and.
Common sense.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention, because this is the first time.
Yeah,
hearing
no,
this.
I couldn't believe that there wasn't a code. The South thought there was a code
Yeah.
to begin with, and then, and the answer I got from my neighbors was, well, you should put up shades. So I said, well, I have shades, I said, that's the wrong answer. And then, the other thing was, oh, but there's no code, so we're not gonna stop. We're not gonna fix it.
It's not very
Although,
legally.
I did suggest, and finally they put, shades on their lights, but the light is so high up on the house that it makes no difference. And also, they moved the bulbs in, and now their whole house illuminates besides, the lights coming on, and they're just very
Do they
content.
live there?
What?
They live there?
Yeah, they moved from one house to the next, and, what's that?
It's just the timer went off.
You're gonna blow up.
3 minutes are up.
Okay. So, anyway, so I just thought that if we can't just use this code from Oyster Bay, or we could just put it into Bayville's code.
We'll research that, we'll definitely look into that.
And
That's
that
something
way,
should be done.
as soon as possible.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Actually, it interferes with my
Just
sleep.
to give you a
Yeah,
heads up,
it's-
and just like we did tonight, adding a local law is gonna take months. It's just the way the
Well,
process works.
I've been talking to him very nicely for months.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep talking.
And I have.
Rest assured, we'll get the process going.
And I have been away,
Right.
in the winter I was away, and then, a lot of times I'm away during the week. But, I come home and I sit down, or I go to bed, and like the backyard is lit up.
It's not pleasant.
And I'm sure the neighbors, and I know other neighbors have other problems with people with their lights too.
Yeah.
And, but if there was a simple code.
I appreciate you bringing it to our
Yeah,
attention,
so-
because we've learned there's plenty of gaps in the code that need to be filled, and that's certainly one of them.
Yeah, so when should I check to make, see if
It takes usually a couple months to adopt a local law.
okay,
There's a process, and that.
yeah, no, I figured.
Count on about 3 months, because you have to introduce it at one meeting, and then you have to draft
Have a
it,
hearing.
send it around.
Yeah.
And
So
again,
even if we introduced it in the September meeting, you're probably looking at like a November hearing, which that would be probably the earliest.
And
late
many,
November.
many villages have that,
That makes complete sense.
Many of the other villages that we represent also have.
We just have to work on the
Right.
language. That might be completely appropriate. Some of the words in there sound a little vague to me,
Yeah,
which I
that's-
didn't like.
Yeah, that's the problem.
But
with
we'll
this
find one
I
that's
think.
kinda not vague.
To me, that sounds like you just don't shine the light in my face. like-
Yeah. That would seem like common sense though.
Yeah, well, and, I would,
Some
I
codes
would
even have,
fix
some
it.
codes even require use of a light meter to determine how much is
Oh,
coming
okay.
over the
Like a
property.
decibel meter for the noise.
Yeah, no, not for the light.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a light meter.
besides the lights that come on with the.
Yeah, because you can get into difficulties with the intensities,
Yeah,
If you happen to see a light on another guy's property, well, you know, is it shining over to a point where it's really a problem or not?
And especially if it goes on or off, you know, intermittently and.
No, but I'm just saying.
Right, sure.
If a guy has a light on, it can filter over to a neighboring property, especially in Bayville, because your house is so close together. So I think it has to be looked at a little bit.
This says it's not supposed to even
Yeah,
filter
I
over.
understand that, but
Yeah.
I mean,
It
the
looks-
mayor said, it's a little vague.
It looks like a hotel.
Yeah.
I hate to see a constitutional challenge.
We don't
by the
allow those
neighbor.
either.
Well, I mean, the alternative for me is shine a light on their house, but
Or the lights.
refraining from doing that.
Believe me, that's happened in the past.
Well, I mean, that's not the right thing to do.
No.
Yeah.
First, you follow these channels.
Right.
And then, you know,
We'll do whatever we can to fix
Did
that.
they move from another house in Bayville to the house there?
Yeah, they moved from one house 2 doors away to this house, and they rebuilt it, and then they installed all these lights around the house, and they were all run by one sensor. And these, you know, so as
So
soon
one
as
goes on
they
the-
drive in their driveway,
Or I
or
come
someone
once
drives
by,
up
goes
the
on.
street, and sometimes it's quite often, sometimes it's not for, you know, hours, but it just, it's annoying, you know, and.
I'm sorry you're dealing with
It's
that.
also annoying that people aren't courteous.
Yeah. No.
And that's why you have codes,
Yep.
and protect everybody else from people that.
Again, thank you for bringing it to our
Well,
attention.
thank you.
Yes.
All right, I'll be looking forward to, you know,
Keep an eye on the agenda. It'll be on
I do
next
have
month.
some lights that would be quite annoying.
Before you resort to that, let's see.
No,
if we can-
I'm going
Use
this
the chance.
route, you know.
Okay.
We gotta keep the peace. You know.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Catherine Goldberg, 10 Dean's Lane. I just wanna put my 2 cents in about the whole light thing, 'cause I live in a ranch, and I have 2-story, one's a rental and one's, house on, right on top of me. And they both had really bright lights. Now, I spoke to the one neighbor with the house that owns, and he turned it away, so it's not illuminating my whole backyard and my bedroom, which is in the back. The other, neighbor, who was totally unaware, like I said, it's a rental, and she just put the light on by mistake one day, it was on today's. I mean, that just goes right into my bedroom, my whole backyard. And then I made her aware, and she was good about it, and she usually remembers if she puts it on for whatever reason to turn it off. So I really don't have a problem, other than it would be nice to have
Some teeth.
some kind of code, some kind
Exactly.
of backup, because I don't know the next people who live there, if they're gonna be so considerate.
Luckily, you have good.
Then we can legislate the extremes, but we can't change people's
Yeah.
attitudes about each
I
other.
wish we could.
And I can just text her if you don't mind.
Yeah. If that works.
It does.
Thank you.
Ms. Cicero, I'd just like to, pardon the pun, shed some light on this subject. Cerebral palsy did the same thing by me. I fought them, and I just made it happen. It took a couple of months without legislation. Basically, the problem is these LED lights, and I spoke with Mayor Di Natale about this because he had referenced in a conversation with him that they were gonna put them on the streets. The street lights were gonna go to LEDs. That's a real problem. The problem is LED lights do not send a beam out. It goes out square. As long as there's nothing blocking the sides, it comes out this way, not like a point. So what happens is they have to put the shields on. And I contacted the manufacturers because I know this is nothing new. And they said, oh yeah, we have a type of shield and blah, 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 blah. And I said, send the specs on it and how it redirects the light source, which they did. I don't have any more, but using that as my leverage, I went to Cerebral Palsy, and I went through the process. I was having it in my windows, and oh, it was terrible. It was like daylight, even with shades. So the problem is the LEDs. But there is a solution. And it's one that anybody can apply. I mean, it's not even a big deal other than the expense of a shield. But just keep that in mind when you start writing this. And you gotta write the specifications as they project with these shields, because they do give you a radius, circumference, this, that, and everything, and they have to be dialed into your legislation. It's adjustable. Now, again, with the lights on the streets, the street lights and LEDs, if you don't address address that, that's another big problem gonna develop. It's gotta be shine down. And, you know, they did that over in Glen Cove Shopping Center. And I'm driving, one day I got blinded one night, and they put these LEDs up, I hear you. They put these LEDs up, and they were right in your face. And, I, you know, casually sent up something that said, you know, hey, turn them down a little bit, because it was a problem, driving problem. So just add that into your equation, look a little deeper into it, I think you'll get a satisfactory result.
Thank you, Mr. Cicero. Anybody else? All right, if there's no other business, I'd like a motion to adjourn the meeting, close the meeting.
Make a motion to close the meeting?
Second.
Trustee Cornell?
Yes.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wright?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy what's left of your summer. Thank you, Mark, for showing up and not saying anything.